Hello and welcome to News Across Nigeria. I'm Imana Amawe. Coming up on the program today. Reactions trail the federal government's pronouncement of June 12 as New Democracy Day in honor of acclaimed winner of the 1993 presidential elections, Moshood Abiola. Late Abiola's family reacts to the honor given to their father. And the Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, launches a humanitarian center in Adamawa State. Welcome to the program that brings you news from the north, south, east and west of Nigeria. Varied reactions continue to trail President Muhammadu Buhari's declaration of June 12 as Nigeria's Democracy Day. One of those reactions is coming from the main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party. The PDP believes there are political reasons behind the announcement and is also accusing President Buhari of using the late MKO Abiola to gain political capital, especially when some members of Buhari's government allegedly refused to support the naming of the University of Lagos after Abiola by former President Goodluck Jonathan's administration. A statement signed by the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Mr. Kola Ologbodiyan, says, quote, "If President Buhari genuinely wants to honor Chief Abiola, he should do so by ending all anti-democratic proclivities of his administration and allow for the rule of law and respect for our constitution. It is therefore a sign of political desperation for President Buhari to seek to use Chief Abiola's name as a tool to sway Nigerians in less than 12 months to an election where he, President Buhari, is seeking a second term." End of quote. President Muhammadu Buhari made the announcement of the new date to commemorate Nigeria's transition to self-rule on both his Twitter handle and in the press statement, where the highest national honor of Grand Commander of the Federal Republic, GCFR, was also posthumously conferred on Chief Moshood Abiola, the acclaimed winner of the 1993 presidential election. Meanwhile, family members of the late politician are happy about the honor bestowed on their father. His daughter, who is the founder of the Kudirat Initiate for Democracy, Hafsat Abiola Constello, says the family appreciates the declaration, which she believes is long overdue.
I cannot believe it. I still pray that it's not that somebody will wake me up and say, I was sleeping or something. I just cannot believe it. It's so long overdue. 25 years. You know, it should have been done in 1999. It should have been done. June 12 should have been declared the day of transition in 1999. It was not. And that was already a signal that Nigerians were going to be cheated. We had fought. We had fought soldiers, we had fought the army that wanted to oppress and dictate to us. And now that it's time for us to now begin this new democratic transition, it was as if they pulled out someone that would continue to protect their interest and not recognize and validate the interests and needs and rights of the people of Nigeria. We saw with June 12 that even before an army that has, with soldiers that are armed, journalists came out, wrote articles. I mean, people were on the streets, labor unions went on strike, market women went on strike and shut down a powerful military dictatorship. So now, if we want this democracy to continue to deliver for us, we must be prepared to continually engage, continually challenge and demand, because the whole freedom, not just of Nigeria, but of Africa and indeed of the black world, is resting on Nigeria. So we cannot get Nigeria wrong.
And more reactions continue to pour in. This time, the Ogun state government, the late politician's home state, says it's grateful to the federal government for the posthumous honor to Chief Moshood Abiola. Secretary to the state government, Mr. Taiwo Adeoluwa, also says the declaration should have been made by past administrations. His views were echoed by the Alake of Egba land, Obadedotun Gbadebo, who believes it's a confirmation of the fact that labor and struggle of all Nigerians has not been in vain. Both spoke in separate interviews with Channels Television, challenging Nigerians and the political class to see the recognition as a way of strengthening the country's unity.
We are re-energized as a nation. This event is going to bring us together more, because it shows that one thing that has been is a common thing for all of us, that this man won election, this man has not been well treated. And I think that's the significance. We have a fresh reason to do all we can as a nation to bury our differences and move Nigeria forward.
The sacrifice that Chief MKO made for the greatness of this country had not been forgotten. We thank God that all the bridges of friendship, of one nation, of togetherness that he built across the country can be built upon by future Nigerians. So we thank God for what General Buhari did yesterday. This is a very great monument that June 12 has been granted to the hero of June 12. We thank God for this, and we will continue to glorify God for this.
Now let's get more on this matter. The former chairman of Mowodofili Council Area, Ayodele Adewale, joins us in the studio. Welcome to the program and thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so what was your first reaction following the president's proclamation?
Well, I indeed felt very happy, and I'm also glad to be alive when this thing is happening, because a lot of our colleagues died and so many were maimed. Some have not been able to put their life together, and for the president of this country to acknowledge the fact that an election did take place where people came out to vote en masse for a particular man, and of course demonstrated their free will. And some people in the corridor of their convenience decided to annul that election and threw the whole country into chaos that led to the death of thousands of people. And Nigeria is yet to recover from that incident.
Okay, then the timing. Why do you think this is coming now, 2018, at this time?
There will always be time for everything. There is time to sow, there is time to reap, and there will always be a time for everything. The timing does not matter. The major thing that matters is the courage to go ahead to do it. A lot of people felt that the ruling class, particularly from the military echelon, that none of them would have had the guts to do it because of this quote and unquote fraternity amongst them. So if a former military head of state had the courage to be democratic enough and to speak out with the truth, I think such person should be commended. But it should not stop at that, because we had a press conference in Adriela's house today, and we also louded the call for the president and his administration to put together a committee of fact-finding to actually dig out what happened. People want to know what led to that decision, who sat to take that decision to annul the election. And of course, it's a treasonable offense against the Nigerian state and against the Nigerian people. And people died. Those people must account for their deeds, and the provision of the Constitution, particularly to treasonable offense. So
are you suggesting that not just honors should be given out at this time, but people need to be brought to book as well?
People must be brought to book, because I tell people that history has a way of repeating itself. You can see in fashion. You understand? I mean, in the 60s, the 50s, Afro was in vogue, miniskirt was in vogue, and of course in the 90s, in the 2000s, you've also seen similar things. But if there is no detriment that is put in place, such thing, when it comes back in history, particularly for the generation yet unborn, they wouldn't know how to tackle it. But if you put detriment there, if you put sanctions there, of course, a lot of people would not want to go through that path, knowing fully well what will happen to them if they venture into it. Okay. And if it did happen, those who will leave then will also know what to do.
Okay, so finally, Justin, very briefly, what does this portend for Nigeria's democracy going forward? It
portends that our democracy is mature, and we're moving very well, and the democratic system is making people account for their deeds, and it's giving some people the impetus and courage to move this country forward onto the right path.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Dewale, for joining us on the program. And thank you for your time. Well, we'll take a moment on news across Nigeria. When we come back, we have more stories for you. Don't go away.